So, is the U.S. secretly using Iran to save the U.S. dollar? Well, let's face it, folks. Why oil, China, and the Strait of Hormuz matter more than you think right now in 2025. Hey, folks, hit like and subscribe because YouTube loves when you do that. It says something very positive about this channel and what I'm able to deliver to you. Let's continue. So, is the U.S. secretly using Iran to save the U.S. dollar? Well, let's face it, folks. Why oil, China, and the Strait of Hormuz matter more than you think right now in 2025. So on the surface, it's about peace and nuclear safety, right? That's this cover story being sold to the rest of the world. But behind the headlines, is America really protecting Israel? Are they really trying to create a stabilized Middle East, or are they really protecting the U.S. dollar? Because I have an idea here that I wanted to share with you, and maybe you agree. Maybe you'll leave a comment saying this makes sense, or you might say you've gone completely nuts. This isn't anything near what's going on, but I'll throw it out to you because what happens on the surface, there's usually another story that's happening that we don't quite see, or it's more abstract to what the average person on Main Street understands. And of course, this channel is all about taking DC politics, world politics, what happens on Wall Street, and bringing them down to the Main Street so we, people like us, have a deeper understanding of what's really going on. The Iran-China oil connection, it's real, and it's not necessarily good for world peace. The fact is that Iran ships 90 to 96% of its oil to China. Now, for China, that's great. It's cheap oil being delivered, and China has a growing population that needs oil, right? But the fact is that Iran and China have oil workarounds. Yes, they're using ghost ships. They're using alternate banking routes to finance all of this, and they're really avoiding what's happening right in plain sight. And the fact is that China is supporting a nuclear and a bad actor in Iran, and Iran is giving China what they really need, which is oil. And China is also putting its foothold there in the Middle East. But China needs Iran's oil for Belt and Road Initiative that's going on throughout Asia and, of course, their own domestic stability. So make no question about it. One hand is washing the other, one back scratches the other, and of course, in politics and in economics, politics makes strange bedfellows, and so it's kind of crazy that a country like Iran and China would work together economically. But hear the rest of the story, because I think they're going to be things that you find really, really fascinating. Pictured here, the Strait of Hormuz really is a pressure valve for oil exports throughout the region. 1/5. That is 1/5 of the world's oil flows through this choke point, and Iran has been in a position in the past to repeatedly threaten to close it. The U.S. Navy is currently right there, and the U.S. Navy says it's all about stability and it's all about strategic control, and that you can't let a militant and radical country that wants nuclear weapons control the Strait of Hormuz, because it's not good for anybody in the Middle East, and it's not good for the world economy as well. The fact of the matter is the petrodollar. Yes, oil is priced in U.S. dollars. It's an extremely important thing that we all have to keep in mind, because with the petrodollar, the U.S. really is the world's reserve currency, and that gives the United States special privileges, special spending powers, and up until now has allowed the United States to be the country that prints out as much money as it wants, because oftentimes its number one export is inflation. Because the petrodollar allows the United States to control how oil is traded throughout the entire planet. It's also a threat. There's also been an ongoing threat to the U.S. dollar from the BRICS nations. That's Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. And more often than not, China has been pushing for oil trades to happen in the yuan, and that, as a result, causes a little bit less dependence on the U.S. dollar and maybe loosens up the opportunity for other nations like China to jump in. So the sale of Iranian oil to China really allows the yuan to weaken the US dollar. So Iran, in essence, is destabilizing the US dollar, and Iran loves the idea of weakening the US dollar while doing themselves a lot of good by building a relationship with technology and their number one export, oil, with China. So there's a bigger game being played, and I want to draw your attention to this because maybe you agree, maybe you don't. And if I do hope that you leave a comment below, because your comments really do matter. The fact is that the U.S. is pushing democracy throughout the entire planet. And with that democracy being pushed throughout the entire planet, like, make no doubt about it, it's a democracy that uses the US dollar for trade as its tool of economic survival and economic prosperity for all nations, particularly when you're the country that can print that money. Of course, the US dollar being pushed as the reserve currency really does have a positive impact on the United States as well. Let's face it, for us, it's cheap energy prices. For us, it's the ability to export inflation throughout the world. And face it, there's also an opportunity for war footing if and when there are nations and bad actors like Iran who try to, dare we say, rock the boat when it comes to using the US petrodollar. Future scenarios could be a de-escalation versus conflict versus economic Cold War all over again. And maybe that's a big reason why we are pushing for the Iran and China to back off this relationship a little bit and continue using the dollar. So in closing, I threw out a radical idea here that maybe some of you agree with, maybe some of you don't, but the fact is, do you really think that the United States and Israel are really involved in Iran today, as in right now, bombing missions, creating a nuclear-free Iran? Do you think that's more about world peace, or do you think it could conceivably be about stabilizing the U.S. dollar, right, and keeping the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency? I throw this question out to you viewers because you're sharp people. You see things, and sometimes you're able to fill in the gaps about the things that we miss on this channel. And I like to live in a black and white world of right and wrong, and it's easy to see, but the fact is, we can all agree that a nuclear-free Iran is good for the world. We also can agree that Iran working with China may be the U.S. chief rival right now in 2025. We know that Iran working with the United States. We know that Iran building its petroleum industry with China represents a huge rivalry. The fact is that the vast majority of the Middle East trades in U.S. dollars. But then there's Iran, and Iran is a sworn enemy of the United States. They call us the Great Satan. But in reality, the United States might be looking at Iran saying, what you're doing is deliberately trying to undermine the U.S. dollar. China is one of the United States' chief rivals, and China, of course, wants to be the world dominant power. And so with that, what better way to become a world power than to undermine the currency of the number one economic power in the world? Hey folks, thanks for joining me. I want to remind you that your thoughts, your actions really do matter. The most important thing I could ask you to do today, like right now, is hit like and subscribe, because it does wonders for this YouTube algorithm. And folks, if I could give you one other thought, it would be to stay healthy, take care of yourself, because your health matters most, and it has a significant impact on how every other aspect of your life goes. Thanks for joining me, and I will catch you in tomorrow's video. And don't forget to join me live. Have a great day.